Hey guys, this year the Los Angeles Rams won the Super Bowl for the second time in team history. And I think we can all agree they did it by the acquisitions they made during the 2021 offseason and regular season. This leaves me to wonder, what if Les Snead never pulled the trigger on trading Jared Goff? What if the Rams gave Goff another chance? Would they still win the Super Bowl? Would OBJ even want to go to LA? Would the Rams even trade for Von Miller? Would the Rams even make the playoffs? And what would happen with Stafford in Detroit? Well, that is what I'm doing today. All games I change for the Rams and the Lions will be based off what we've seen in the 2021 regular season. We're also going to keep the Rams 2021 season the main subject for this video since they have the more interesting what if. But fear not, we will still check on the Lions with Mathew Stafford at the end of the regular season. Without further ado, let's get started. So the Rams drafted with a win now approach and the Lions drafted for the future. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the draft the same just to be safe, and it does save me time and work. We're also going to keep the trades the same because in this scenario, McVay believes in Jared Goff, or at least he's trying to. Week 1, the Rams still pull it off with Jared Goff. However, this week is nothing special to the Rams since Stafford isn't making his debut. But Goff still wins it despite not playing as well as Stafford did in Week 1. In Week 2, we get the first huge change. The Rams lose a nail-biter to the Colts, and Jared Goff doesn't play that well. In Week 3, the Rams still beat the Bucs, and both Stafford and Jared Goff showed up for this one. The game is still closer though with Jared Goff. In Week 4, nothing changes as well, but Goff throws for less and throws one more interception than Stafford did. On Thursday Night Football, Goff does his part and the Rams beat the division rival Seattle Seahawks just like they did with Mathew Stafford. However, due to the butterfly effect and the fact how freakish of an injury Russell Wilson had, Russell Wilson never gets injured by Aaron Donald. Yep, you heard that right. Next week versus the Giants, the Rams take care of business like they did with Stafford, and the team plays good all the way around. In Week 7, we have Goff versus Stafford. Now in the original meeting, the Lions were playing with nothing on the line. That's not the case this time around because the Lions have a somewhat respectable record with Mathew Stafford. That being said, the Rams still win. In Week 8, the Rams take care of business yet again and beat the Texans by over 10 plus, just like they did with Stafford. In Week 9, Jared Goff has one of his best games all year, whereas when Mathew Stafford played the Titans, it was looked at as an off day for him. That's not the case for Jared Goff though, as he goes for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and this is one of those rare weeks where Goff just would have outperformed him on the Rams. After the incredible showing versus Tennessee, Goff has a horrible showing versus the Niners, and the Rams are back on the losing side. I mean, hey, they still are 7-3. It was around this time where 2 important things happened to the Rams season. One was that Robert Woods tore his ACL and was out for the year, and the other one was Odell signed with the Rams. Sean McVay told reporters that Robert Woods' injury was a freakish accident. And since they have a different style of offense, which means the game plan for each week is going to be different, I'm going to go ahead and say that Robert Woods never gets hurt. Which also means the Rams are not really stressing over a receiver. Which also means Odell now signs with the Patriots. And that's not me just putting him on a team. Odell did say that he was either signing with the Patriots or the Saints if the Rams weren't an option. And the Patriots were in a better spot during Week 10 than the Saints, so I'm going to go ahead and say that the smart move was for him to sign with the Patriots. After the bye week, the Rams go down to Lambeau and lose for a second time in a row. Goff doesn't play good enough to win this key matchup. The next week, the Rams rebound and blow out the Jaguars to go 8-4 and snap their 2-game losing streak. We got a good game ahead of us for Week 14, as it comes down to a late second field goal to give LA the win and their revenge versus Arizona. Week 15, the Rams still win, but this time they find a way to win without controversy. At this point, the Rams are looking good at 10-4. That is, however, until they go down to Minnesota, and they lose in a heartbreaking defeat to get their 5th loss on the year. No Lamar Jackson, no problem for the Baltimore Ravens. This Rams loss looks almost identical to their loss versus the Jets in 2020. Both games the Rams were highly favored by. And in the last regular season game of the year, the Rams lose again for the 3rd time in a row to go 10-7 on the year. 2 games worse than what Mathew Stafford did with the Rams. So we know Mathew Stafford has the edge when it came down to wins. But now let's compare stats. As you can see, most people would prefer Matthew Stafford's stat line, but I guess you can say Jared Goff didn't lead the NFL in interceptions. That's a pro. Before we get into the postseason, we need to look at all the game outcomes that changed. Because if you remember, Matthew Stafford is still on the Lions, Russell Wilson never got hurt, and Odell is on the Patriots. Seattle wins 2 more games with Russ, and the Lions' record improves by 2.5 games with Stafford. However, Matthew Stafford's stats in Detroit don't compare to Goff's in LA, which is pretty understandable. And in case anybody is wondering, Cooper Kupp still has a good season, just nowhere near the one we just witnessed with Stafford as his QB. This means Jonathan Taylor wins the Offensive Player of the Year award. And since the Titans don't take the first seed in the AFC anymore, Matt LaFleur wins Coach of the Year. And as you can see, this Goff-Stafford trade really shook up the entire NFL, especially the NFL playoffs now. The Chiefs have the number 1 seed, the Steelers are out, the Colts are in, the Eagles are out, the Vikings are in, the Cardinals win the division. Well, this should be a fun postseason to see. The only playoff matchup in this entire playoff bracket that stays the same is the Bengals, Raiders, and the wild card. And both teams were really not affected by the butterfly effect, so I'm gonna not change anything in this game since it is the same round they faced as well. The Bills do, however, still beat down the Colts, and Josh Allen goes off like what he did versus New England in the wild card. Only difference, this time it's versus the Colts. Kirk Cousins does it again. He goes into enemy territory in the wild card round versus a future Hall of Fame quarterback and has one of the greatest games of his career versus a banged up Bucs squad. The Cowboys choke another playoff game. What's new? This time around, though, it's Jared Goff and the Rams eliminating Dak and the Cowboys. This was a tough one to call, but since Derrick Henry is banged up and coming back a week earlier this time, the Patriots beat the Titans, and Big Mac Jones outperforms Tannehill, and the number 2 seed Titans lose in a close one. Last game of the wildcard round, we see the 49ers take down the division winner Cardinals, just like what the Rams did this year. However, it's not a blowout this time. And just like that, we're on to the divisional round of the 2021 playoffs. If you remember, the 2021 divisional round that happened this year was extremely amazing. Every game came down to like 3 points. The Chiefs-Bills game went into overtime and the Chiefs got the coin toss and won the game. Will it stand out in this scenario? Let's find out. The answer is no. The Chiefs obliterate the Patriots, and the Chiefs are heading to the AFC Championship again. Well, I guess it's not going to live up to what it lived up to when Stafford was on the Rams. Now, if you remember, the Packers-Niners matchup that happened in the divisional round this year was really cold, and Rodgers is in fact still dealing with the MVP curse. So, the number 32 ranked defense against the pass upsets Aaron Rodgers in the divisional round, and the Minnesota Vikings, the team that wasn't even in the playoffs with Stafford on the Rams, is going to the NFC Championship. It pains my heart to say this, but the Rams lose to the Niners in the divisional round, and now that answers the question of would the Rams still win the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. But fear not, we're still going to continue this postseason because it is interesting. Now this might shock you, but the Buffalo Bills take out the Cincinnati Bengals because divisional round Josh Allen was unstoppable. So I'm going to say the Bengals have no answer for this man. And that means both the Rams and the Bengals, the teams who made the Super Bowl with Stafford in LA, both get eliminated in the divisional. In the AFC Championship, Josh Allen and the Bills get the revenge and beat the Chiefs this time around, and the Bills are in the Super Bowl. In the NFC Championship, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings run attack are a no-show. In the Super Bowl, the Bills have to deal with the Jersey curse, and the Niners create one of the best underdog stories since the 2007 New York Giants. And the San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl. So there you have it. In my scenario, I have the Rams going to the playoffs with Jared Goff, but losing in the divisional round, and the 49ers end up winning the Super Bowl. Thank you guys for watching, and tell me down in the comments how you think the Rams would have done in 2021 if they had Jared Goff at quarterback instead of Matthew Stafford.